The text came through at 9:47 p.m., just as I was tightening the last bolt on our Honda's brake pads in the garage. Working late, don't wait up. Big presentation tomorrow. I stared at the screen, grease still coating my fingers. Sarah had been pulling these late nights for 3 months now, always Thursdays, always with Victor, her office manager. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Miguel, the janitor at Sarah's accounting firm. Hey, amigo. You didn't hear this from me, but your wife and that Victor guy, they stay real late every Thursday. And I don't think they're working on spreadsheets, if you catch my drift. I wiped my hands clean, my jaw tightening. What exactly are you saying, Miguel? I'm saying I got security footage from the break room cameras. You want to see it, or you want to keep pretending everything's fine? 20 minutes later, Miguel handed me a flash drive in the parking lot of Murphy's Bar. His weathered face looked genuinely sorry. I got kids too, man. I know what this feels like. I drove home in silence, my mind racing. Sarah's car wasn't in the driveway yet. Our 17-year-old daughter Emma was at her friend's house. The house felt empty and cold. I plugged the drive into my laptop. The footage was crystal clear. Sarah and Victor in the break room, his hands all over her laughing like a teenager. The timestamp showed last Thursday, 10:15 p.m. The same night she texted me about working late. My hands shook as I watched my wife of 19 years betray everything we'd built together. The woman who'd stood beside me when I lost my job 2 years ago. The woman who'd cried with me when we almost lost the house. I heard her key in the front door. Honey, you still up? Sarah's voice carried that fake sweetness she used when she was lying. In here, I called from the living room, closing the laptop. She appeared in the doorway, still in her business suit, lipstick slightly smeared. How was your evening? I looked at her for a long moment. Productive. How was your presentation? Her eyes flickered. What presentation? The one you mentioned in your text, with Victor. The color drained from her face. Her keys rattled in her trembling hand. We didn't... How did you... I stood up slowly, keeping my voice steady. Funny thing about presentations, Sarah. They usually happen during business hours. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time in our marriage, my sharp-tongued wife was speechless. We need to talk, I said, but she was already backing toward the stairs. I'm tired, Dave. Can we do this tomorrow? No, I said quietly. We really can't. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The next morning, Sarah was gone before I woke up. She'd left a note. Staying at Mom's for a few days. Need space to think. Space to think. Right. I called in sick to my IT consulting job and drove to Murphy's Bar. My best friend Terry owned the place, and he'd been a cop for 15 years before buying it. If anyone would know how to handle this situation, it was him. She's cheating, I said without preamble, sliding onto a bar stool. Terry looked up from wiping down glasses. You sure? I showed him the footage on my phone. Terry's face hardened as he watched. That's some stone-cold evidence right there. What's your play? I don't know. Part of me wants to confront them both. Part of me wants to hire a lawyer and take her for everything. Terry set down his towel. Or you could make them sweat first. Public humiliation has a way of making people think twice about their choices. What do you mean? Well, there's the school fundraiser this Saturday. Big crowd, all your neighbors. Victor's wife will be there. Terry's grin was wicked. Accidents happen at those things. I spent the rest of the week planning. Miguel kept me updated on Sarah and Victor's office activities. They were getting bolder, staying later, not even trying to hide it from the other employees. Saturday arrived gray and drizzly. The fundraiser was held in the school gymnasium, packed with families trying to raise money for new computers. I arrived alone, since Sarah was still staying at her mother's. Victor stood near the auction table, looking smug in an expensive suit, his arm around his wife Patricia. He'd always been a peacock, leased Tesla, designer clothes, gym membership he bragged about constantly. I waited until he was holding a glass of red wine, talking loudly about his important work projects to a group of other parents. "Dave," he called out when he saw me, his voice dripping with fake concern. "Where's Sarah tonight? Still working late?" The group turned to look at me. I could see the pity in their eyes, the poor husband who didn't know his wife was cheating. "Actually, Victor, I wanted to thank you for keeping her so busy at the office." His smile faltered slightly. "Just doing my job, buddy." "I bet you are." I stepped closer, pretending to examine the auction items. "Sarah mentioned how hands-on you are with your presentations." Victor's face went pale. He took a step back, wine glass trembling in his hand. That's when I accidentally bumped into him. Red wine exploded across his white shirt and expensive tie. The entire gymnasium went quiet. "Oh God, I'm so sorry," I said loudly, grabbing napkins. "Let me help you clean that up." I started dabbing at his shirt, pressing hard enough to make him wince. Guess that's what happens when you get too close to other people's business. Victor tried to push me away, but I kept helping, making the stain worse. The crowd was watching, some laughing at the spectacle. "Get off me," Victor hissed under his breath. "Just trying to help a colleague," I said innocently, then louder. "Maybe Sarah can help you get cleaned up on Monday. She's so good at handling difficult situations." Victor's wife Patricia was staring at us both, confusion clear on her face. The other parents were whispering among themselves. Victor stormed out, his ruined shirt clinging to his chest. I turned to the crowd with an apologetic shrug. "Butterfingers. Hope the stain comes out." The laughter that followed was music to my ears. Sarah came home Sunday night, her face tight with anger. "What the hell did you do to Victor yesterday?" "Spilled some wine. Why?" "He said you humiliated him in front of everyone. His wife is asking questions." I looked up from my laptop where I'd been reviewing more security footage Miguel had provided. Maybe he shouldn't have worn white to a messy event. "This isn't funny, Dave. People are talking." "Good. Let them talk." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" I turned the laptop screen toward her. The footage showed her and Victor in his office, her skirt hiked up, his hands everywhere. "It means I know exactly what kind of work you've been doing." She went white as a sheet. "Dave, I can explain." "Can you? Because this looks pretty self-explanatory." She sank into the chair across from me, tears starting to flow, but I was done being the sympathetic husband. "How long?" I asked. 3 months, she whispered. "Why?" "I don't know. He made me feel young again, exciting, like I mattered. You mattered to me." "Did I? When's the last time you looked at me the way he does?" I closed the laptop. "When's the last time you gave me a reason to?" We stared at each other across 19 years of marriage, and I realized we were strangers. "I want you out," I said quietly. "Dave, please, we can work through this. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. I want you out of my house." She was crying harder now. "What about Emma? What about our life together?" "You should have thought about that before you decided to screw your boss." The next morning, I filed for separation. By Wednesday, I'd moved our joint savings into my personal account and canceled Emma's college tuition payments. If Sarah wanted to destroy our family, she could pay for the privilege. Miguel called Thursday afternoon. "They're at it again. Victor's office, door locked." "Perfect. Is Patricia still picking up Victor's dry cleaning on Thursdays?" "Like clockwork." "Why?" "Time for phase 2. I drove to Victor's luxury townhouse in the hills. Patricia's car was gone, just as expected. Victor's Tesla sat in the driveway like a monument to his arrogance. I walked up to the front door and knocked. Victor opened it wearing workout clothes, clearly expecting Sarah. "Surprise," I said, and slapped him hard across the face. He stumbled backward, hand flying to his cheek. "What the hell?" I pushed past him into the house. His home gym dominated the living room. Expensive equipment, mirrors everywhere, protein powder containers lined up like trophies. "Nice setup. This where you bring all your married women?" "Get out of my house!" "Or what? You'll call the cops? Tell them how you've been screwing my wife?" Victor tried to look tough, puffing out his chest, but I could see the fear in his eyes. I picked up a container of protein powder and dumped it across his treadmill. "Stop!" Victor lunged forward, but I caught him by the shirt and slammed him against the mirrored wall. "You ever text my wife again? I'll send those gym selfies you post to Patricia's church group. Try me." I released him and continued my destruction. Protein powder everywhere, dumbbells scattered across the floor, his precious mirrors cracked with a well-placed elbow. Victor cowered in the corner as I trashed his shrine to vanity. "This is crazy. You're crazy." "Maybe, but I'm not the one destroying a family for cheap thrills." I pulled out my phone and took pictures of the mess, then posted them to social media with the caption, "Some people's priorities are all wrong." Within an hour, Victor's gym buddies were commenting with laughing emojis. I left him there, surrounded by the ruins of his ego. Friday morning, Sarah was fired from her job. Not arrested, just humiliated. The security footage had made its way to her boss, along with evidence of Victor's expense account irregularities that Miguel had uncovered. Victor lost his job too. His wife filed for separation after seeing my social media posts and putting the pieces together. But I wasn't done. Saturday night, I received a text from Cheryl, Sarah's best friend, and the HR manager at her former company. "You think you're winning, but you're playing my game." I stared at the message, my blood running cold. Cheryl had been Sarah's confidant through all of this. She'd been the one encouraging Sarah to follow her heart and pursue happiness. I called Miguel. "I need everything you have on Cheryl Patterson." "The HR lady? What's she got to do with this?" "Maybe everything." Miguel's research was thorough. Cheryl had been feeding Sarah lies about me for months, claiming I was having an affair with a client, that I'd been talking about divorce, that I was planning to leave her for someone younger. All lies. But Sarah had believed them. More digging revealed the truth. 3 years ago, I'd exposed Cheryl for plagiarizing a report that cost her a promotion. She'd been planning this revenge ever since, manipulating both Sarah and Victor into the affair. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My wife hadn't just cheated. She'd been manipulated into it by someone seeking revenge against me. But that didn't excuse her choices. She'd still made the decision to betray our marriage. Time for the final confrontation. I texted all 3 of them. Riverside Warehouse, 8 p.m. Come alone, or the photos go public. The abandoned warehouse sat by the polluted river that ran through our town's industrial district. I'd set up cameras and speakers throughout the building, connected to my phone. They arrived within minutes of each other, Sarah looking terrified, Victor angry and desperate, Cheryl coolly confident. "What is this?" Sarah demanded. "This is where we settle everything," I said, stepping out of the shadows. "All of us together. No more lies." "Dave, please," Sarah started, but I held up my hand. "Cheryl, why don't you start? Tell Sarah how you've been manipulating her for 3 years." Cheryl's composure cracked slightly. "I don't know what you're talking about." The fake evidence about my supposed affair, the lies about me wanting a divorce, the way you pushed her toward Victor. Victor looked confused. "What's he talking about, Cheryl?" "Tell them," I pressed. "Tell them how this was all about getting back at me for that plagiarism report." The truth came spilling out. Cheryl's manipulation, her lies, her patient orchestration of my family's destruction. Sarah turned to stare at her best friend, betrayal written across her face. "You made me think he was cheating. You said you had proof." "He ruined my career," Cheryl snapped. He deserved to lose everything. So you destroyed my marriage? My family? Victor was backing toward the door. This is insane. I'm leaving. No, I said quietly. You're not. I'd locked all the exits. They were trapped until I decided otherwise. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're all going to confess, on camera, the whole truth. And if we don't, Cheryl challenged, then the photos and videos I have go to everyone. Your families, your employers, your social media contacts. Everyone. One by one, they broke down and confessed. Sarah admitted to the affair but explained Cheryl's manipulation. Victor confessed to embezzling company funds and using them for his gym equipment. Cheryl admitted to orchestrating the entire scheme for revenge. I recorded every word. When they were done, I unlocked the doors. You can go now. What happens to the recordings? Sarah asked. That depends on how you behave going forward. They fled into the night, leaving me alone in the warehouse with the sound of distant sirens, probably a noise complaint from their shouting. But I had an alibi. Terry and Miguel would swear I'd been at the bar all evening. The annual city gala was held the following Saturday at the convention center. The entire town would be there, politicians, business leaders, social climbers. I bought a ticket and wore my best suit. During the fundraising speeches, I approached the microphone. The organizer, thinking I was going to make a donation, handed it over with a smile. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, my voice carrying across the packed ballroom. I want to talk about honesty, about family, about loyalty. The crowd quieted, sensing something different in my tone. Some of you know me. Dave Mitchell, IT consultant, married to Sarah Mitchell for 19 years, father to Emma. I spotted Sarah at a table near the back, her face pale with horror. I've learned some interesting things about loyalty recently. About how some people will destroy a family for personal gain. About how some people will manipulate others into betraying everything they once held sacred. Victor tried to rush the stage, but I stepped aside. He tripped over the microphone cord and face-planted in front of 500 people. The crowd gasped, then began to murmur. I won't name names, I continued, as Victor scrambled to his feet, his nose bleeding. But I will say this. The truth always comes out. Always. Sarah stood up, tears streaming down her face, and ran for the exit. Reporters who'd been covering the gala for the society pages suddenly perked up, sensing a real story. Cheryl tried to follow Sarah, but found her path blocked by curious onlookers asking questions. Victor stumbled toward the back exit, holding his nose, his social standing in ruins. I set the microphone back on its stand and walked calmly toward the parking lot. In the shadows between the streetlights, I found Victor fumbling with his car keys, blood still dripping from his nose. Remember, I said quietly, appearing beside his car window. Every time you hear footsteps behind you, every time a car door slams at night, it could be me. Watching, waiting. Victor's eyes went wide with terror. He gunned the engine and peeled out of the parking lot, leaving rubber on the asphalt. I lit a cigarette and surveyed the chaos I'd created. People were streaming out of the gala, phones pressed to their ears, spreading gossip like wildfire. Sarah sat in her car, sobbing. Cheryl stood by the entrance, screaming at a reporter who was asking pointed questions about workplace harassment. They'd called me the villain in this story, the jealous husband who couldn't let go. Funny thing is, I'd never felt more alive. The truth was finally out there, spreading through our small town like wildfire. By morning, everyone would know what Sarah, Victor, and Cheryl had done. Their reputations would be destroyed, their social circles would evaporate, and they'd have to live with the consequences of their choices. I took a long drag of my cigarette and smiled. Sometimes the good guys do win. They just have to be willing to play by the villain's rules.